Hi, my name is James Cunningham and I'm going to do a perspective projection question with you here today. Now this particular one is a T4 worksheet and it is worksheet number 10 for anybody that has those. Just to point out a few things here on this one, I'll be talking you through it, but first of all I'll get up to the question. It's a little image here of a house, as you see, with a sloped roof. So you're asked to draw the perspective view of the house when the position of the spectator is as shown, and the picture plane passes through the corner A, as you see here, and the horizon line is 25mm above the ground line. Use a vanishing point for the 40-degree sloping surface of the roof surface to determine its perspective. Okay, so that relates to this angle here of the roofed sloped surface of the house. Okay, so we're going to have to integrate auxiliary vanishing points for that part of it. So this is it's a good question because it integrates a lot of different aspects that relate to perspective drawing. So the first thing I want to do here is to locate my picture plane, essentially. So what we do in this case, when we have our object and it's not running horizontal, if you like, on the page, running off at an angle, we first thing we do in order to locate the picture plane, we draw a sight line, from the spectator to the two most outer points of the object. So in this case, from the spectator, two most outer points, the furthest to the left and furthest to the right from the spectator, are the 2 points as you see me drawing here. So once I've those drawn, as with all previous questions as well, just laid out in the same manner, we then bisect the angle between those two lines. Bisect that angle and then we project up our center line of sight, okay, so also known as our central axis, project it up there. And I just like to colour these in different colours, just because when you have a perspective projection question done, you can have quite a lot of lines on the page. So I'm just going to put that in yellow as you see it. And as we know, with your central line of vision in perspective questions, your picture plane is always positioned at 90 degrees to that line of vision through the center. Okay, but this here in this case is my picture plane. Okay, so I'll just label that there. And now we have that basically located there in our in our plan view. Okay, so this is the edge view of that picture plane. So the next thing I want to do with this is basically we need to locate our ground line up further. So our ground line again appears parallel to our picture plane. So I'm going to put in my ground line here parallel to my picture plane, just above the drawing here. Insert my ground line. Okay, so again, no harm to get into the habit of labeling those different lines just to make it easier for yourself, and you will become more familiar with them as time goes on. So we're told in the questionnaire that the horizon line is 25mm above the ground line. So I'm going to measure up perpendicular to that. I'm just going to line it up again here off the central line, or the central axis. Sorry, 1 second now. Just going to line that up. And I'm just going to draw a line. I'm just going to extend that up lightly just for now. And the reason I'm doing that is just to measure up my 25mm height for the horizon line. And once I locate that, using my sliding set square approach, slide up to that point and again draw in my horizon line. So as we know, with our horizon line, our vanishing points are later, which you'll see in a minute or two. Vanishing points are then projected up onto the horizon line, as you see now. So the way we do that is when our model or our structure is at an angle, if you like, to the picture plane as the spectator is looking at it, we draw a sight line from the spectator parallel to both the end here, as you see me line it up, the end of the building in this case until it hits the picture plane. This then gives me my vanishing point 1. Same thing on the other side, so we're drawing a line from the spectator parallel to the front edge of the building in this case. I'm going to project that up again until that hits the picture plane on this side. That there is giving you your vanishing point number 2. Okay, so just to go back over that, in order to locate your 2 vanishing points, you draw a line from the spectator parallel to the end of it here on the left hand side, so that line parallel, and the same thing parallel to the front line off to your right. Okay, so that's in plan. Now we need to basically project those up. So again, I'm just lining up with my central line there. Project those vanishing points up onto the horizon line in our perspective view. And that gives us our 2 vanishing points up here in the perspective view, as I said. So VP1, VP2. Okay, so again, when you're starting off, especially, go ahead and put your little arrows there just to show the direction that they're going, just for revision purposes. And when you're looking back over that again, you'll have a better idea. You'll be able to remember how it is done. Okay, so the next step here is basically to draw the base, if you like. Forget about the sloped area yet. We'll get this base, the rectangle cube, drawn in first of all, okay, or at least the 2 front surfaces here as we're looking at it. So what do we know about this? We know the corner A is on the picture plane, so that means we can project corner A straight up. Again, I'm lining up off my central line here, which I measure in yellow. We'll project that straight up here, and because that's on the picture plane, we know we can measure the true height of it there. The way we get our true height there is from our end view up here. We know our true height, so you can either measure that or set it on your compass. True height there, and again, as I said, because it's on the picture plane, I can now locate that top point there. So now I have my front corner. I'm just going to use a few colours again for that. I'm going to colour it in blue for the finished product. Front corner here, and just to draw in the height of that. So you know that's the finishing point of that. So I have my base of my front corner, top and bottom, and now I know they're going to project back to each of the vanishing points in order to show us the perspective view. For the bottom, for the top, and likewise over to vanishing point number 2. Top, and again from the bottom. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do with that, I'm going to find the back edge here as it would appear up here, and same thing with our front corner here when we project it up. So we know, as with our first few worksheets when we're learning the basics of perspective projection, in order to bring those points up, you draw your line up to the relevant points. Where those lines cross your picture plane, then this is where you project them up from. And remember, you project them up at 90 degrees to the picture plane, all those points. Okay, so this guy here, I'm going to project it up from here. Light lines, remember, and again, I know that now is going to be coloured in heavy between the base and the top line as we see it here. Going to come across the top, because remember I already had these 2 done from the beginning in order to get the location of the picture plane. Project this guy up. And again, I wouldn't recommend putting the pin on it until you're 100% sure that everything is correct with that. I'm pretty certain I have that correct. Hopefully there are no errors that I will discover at a later stage. Okay, so now essentially what I have drawn here is my baseline along the side in the perspective view. So that here would be the baseline along here if you look at the graphic. I have the front line along the base and the front line on the top. So remember, all these parallel horizontal lines from our plan view, so the base here, the wall, and the top of the wall, they always go back to a vanishing point here, vanishing point 1 and 2 in this case. Alright, so the next step I'm going to do with this is in relation to the slope. So the one thing again we need to remember here when we're introducing slopes to our drawings is obviously how to get them. So we need to work out the angle first of all, and in this case we're told the angle of 40 degrees on the roof. So what's happening here is that you're essentially looking at this angle, and when this angle projects on higher, if you extended that on, you're going to get what we're called is our auxiliary vanishing points. Now the auxiliary vanishing points are going to be further up in relation to their altitude or their height above our existing vanishing point. Okay, so as you see, I extended that on there. So the vanishing point is going to be up above our vanishing point 1 in this case, but we need to determine what height it is above it. Okay, so the way we do that, we're going to look at this point here in relation to the slope. So from your front here, from the eave, if you like, of the drawing up as far as the ridge of the roof. So in this case, from here to here. So if you imagine in this scenario that our roof is running at an angle, I'm just going to use the top of the set square for this. The roof here is running up at an angle as you see it here. So you're looking down on top of the set square in this case. Alright, so essentially what we're doing is we're going to rotate that down. We know our vanishing point is up here, our auxiliary vanishing point. We're essentially going to rotate that down. Okay, so the distance from here out now to the tip of that apex is going to be representing our height above the vanishing point number 1. So what I'm going to do, we're going to use one of the first lines that we've drawn here on screen. I'm just going to draw them in here as a red line or a red dashed line. Okay, this is running parallel to the side of our building, which is what we want. So this is going to represent the baseline of this little triangle, if you like, which would be this half of the baseline on your end view as you see it there. Okay, and essentially we're going to fold that triangle down here, and that'll give us the height then up here for our auxiliary vanishing point above the vanishing point 1. So when we draw that line here, we now draw a line at 90 degrees to it. Okay, so where this line from the spectator, the initial sight line, we're using that because it's running parallel to the side of the house. Where that line hits our picture plane, we now extend the line out at 90 degrees. But this angle here must be perpendicular. As you remember, as I said, as if you're folding the gable of the house down, you're going to rotate that down, and that is going to be out at 90 degrees then. Referring back to the angle of the roof, we're told in this particular question that we have an angle of 40 degrees. So what we need to do now is we need to get our protractor, set it on our spectator as you see it here, lining up your 0 degrees if you like on that. Get your angle of 40 degrees and project out from your spectator that 40 degree angle there. So that angle in this case is 40 degrees. Okay, and what you're left with then, where that intersects the bisector, or sorry, the perpendicular line we're after bringing out, that then is giving us the height of your AVP above the vanishing point here. So the height of your auxiliary vanishing point above that. So I now, just to go recap that before we move on, essentially what we did, we draw our line out parallel to the side of the building that the slope is on. Where that line hits your picture plane coming across here, we project another line out perpendicular in order to locate the height. Once we do that, we then come off at the angle that's given in the question, 40 degrees in this case, out at 40 degrees from this dashed line as it's shown here, and where that intersects your height line, that's giving you the height above the auxiliary. We're going to measure that height with my compass. Again, you can measure it with your set square compass, whichever way you prefer. Sometimes the compass is that bit quicker. Measure that height. I'm going to set that height off from my initial vanishing point 1 above that, and that's going to give me my auxiliary vanishing point, so my AVP. Okay, and like with the other points, this is now giving me an auxiliary vanishing point in order to bring back the slopes of the roof. So we have the front corner of the roof, which is here, and that's going to come back up to our auxiliary vanishing point, as you see it there, and likewise on the other end of the house, I'm going to bring that back to my auxiliary vanishing point. So this now leaves us with the front surface of the roof. So we know it's sloping back or tapering back in a perspective view here. So the next thing I need to do, I know where the back eave of the house is, but I don't know yet where the apex of that roof is. So the way I locate the apex of that is I go back down to my plan. I already have the apex here in plan. So again, like we did from early stages, locating our points, bring my apex back to my spectator, where that sight line again crosses the picture plane. I project it up, and in this case goes right up onto my slope surface where it intersects that. That now is giving me my apex. I'm going to draw that in here, project it down to the back corner, and you see the apex of that cable finished. And of course, once that's done, I can also bring that back. Remember I said earlier, any of your horizontal lines in your that's coming from your plan view, any horizontal lines from the view that would be parallel generally are running back to the same vanishing point. Okay, so I'm going to partially colour this in blue, and I'm going to purposely leave the top in pencil yet here, the ridge of the roof, because we have yet a chimney to accommodate within this question. Okay, so that's essentially the roof part of it finished, apart from inserting the chimney. So again, I located my height from my auxiliary vanishing point. So that height from the vanishing point 1 up to the auxiliary vanishing point is located from this here in the plan view, and I project back then the corresponding points to get my slope. So the next part of this is to complete the chimney and insert the chimney into my drawing. So for the chimney part of this, we need to obviously locate points in a perspective view. We need to locate the heights that we have here, or different heights from our end view. The first thing I'm going to do here is to try and locate on the front surface here, as you see it here in the plan. I'm going to try and locate the height up here first of all to give us something to work off. So if you remember back a few worksheets before, when locating the true heights here, okay, from your plan view, you must be taking them and measuring them from your ground line. Where your point hits the picture plane and is projected up, then you measure from that line on the perspective view, from the ground line on the line that's intersecting in plan with the picture plane. Okay, such as corner A in this case, we know it's touching the picture plane, so we simply got our height over here from the end view and measured up on that line of projection. For the chimney, you can see this front corner is not on the picture plane, so what we need to do in this situation is we need to extend the front surface of the chimney. Okay, I'm going to line up with the front surface of the chimney. I'm going to extend that on until it hits the picture plane. And then when it hits the picture plane, like all the other points, we project up, project that up into your perspective view, and this here is what we call our measuring post. I'm using that as a measuring post in order to locate my heights for the chimney. Okay, I'm just going to colour that in a light blue, and I'm going to label that MP for measuring post. So now the situation I'm left with is I can now measure the height of my chimney. I can now measure the height of my chimney on the in view. Again, I'm just going to use a compass for it. Height of my chimney, and I'm going to measure that then off the measuring post. So remember, we got the measuring post by extending on the front surface of the chimney and projecting it back up here. Now that's my height marked in here. From that height, I'm going to project back, again referring back to the parallel lines, parallel horizontal lines. I'm going to run that back to my vanishing point number 2, because it's coming across the front of the house. So that there is giving me the height of the chimney at the front surface of the house. From here, we need to now locate the corners of the chimney, project them up. So as we've done with the other parts of the exercises, you draw your sight lines from your spectator, where the sight lines to those relevant points cross over your picture plane. You project those up then in order to give you your corners of the chimney. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to project those up, and we'll move on to the next step. I've located some of my points there, and that gives us the width of the front of the chimney first of all. When I get the width of the front, I basically go from my vanishing point 1 up to that front corner, which will give me that line which takes in the top, if you like, the depth of the chimney here. Alright, I'm going to draw that down, and obviously that's gone down along the back slope, so you're only going to see so much of it. And the next step for that, here you'll see part of the ridge going across, but in order to get the front here, so how far down the front comes, I've located this point here on the ridge where the chimney meets the ridge, projected that up from our picture plane, and that comes back up onto my ridge here. And because that line down here is following the slope of the roof, I take that from my auxiliary vanishing point, project that line down, and that gives me that intersecting line of the chimney. Again, where that intersects the relevant points that we're after bringing up, that is helping me locate the lowest point of the chimney on the front surface. So again, back to my vanishing point. To recap on that, we got our heights for the chimney here by extending our front surface on until it hits the picture plane here, which we now see the point view of our measuring post. So we project that up onto our perspective view from the ground line up. Then we're going to use that as our measuring post, in which we measured the true height here from the in view of the top of the chimney, put it on the measuring post here, and we'll project that back to vanishing point number 2. So we now have the top height line of the chimney. Next step, pick your corners here of the chimney, sight line from them to your spectator, or from your spectator to those points, and as normal, where those sight lines cross your picture plane, you project them up onto your perspective view. The key one here is the ridge here where it meets the chimney, where that's projected up. Find your point on the ridge. And this one, remember, this line here is on your sloping surface, so that comes from your auxiliary vanishing point. So a line down through the point on the ridge, and where that intersects these vertical planes, that will then give your height on the front of your roof here, the base of the chimney, to bring back to your vanishing point number 2. So all in all, it's a nice little question. It does integrate a lot of the different aspects of perspective drawing, such as using your measuring posts, using your auxiliary vanishing points here in order to accommodate the slopes on the surface. And remember, other questions could also have another apex coming off the front of your building, for example, in this case, and it could mean adding in a second auxiliary vanishing point up here to accommodate that slope. So in future, just my advice to you is to break them down step by step. Remember here, the first thing we did was got the picture plane, and the second thing is to get the base of the structure in, if you like, and then work on the slope surface towards the end of that, and moving on into your chimney or any additional steps or problems that appear on it. So I hope this is helpful, and I will see you again with more video tutorials in the future. Cheers!